Hello, Camaro fans. So I'm interested in installing some 5mm wheel spacers for my Camaro. And I tried finding good information online before I purchased this, and I just can't find exactly what I'm looking for. And what is good information? Well, good information is how to move, what 5mm spacers look like on a car that you want to keep original with its original wheels. Every time I search for 5mm spacers, it always shows the ZL1, some owner of a ZL1 wanting to push their wheels out 5mm. Or it talks about owners who want to move their wheels out, but in reality, they don't have 5mm spacers, they put 20mm spacers to close that gap. Makes sense, but I'm not interested in lug nut work, hub work, pressing on, pressing off, lugs. That's just not me. I like this car with these wheels, and I'm just looking for something that, for those that are like me, that like their car the way it is, but want a little something else, what would it look like with 5mm spacers? So I purchased a set. What I ended up purchasing were ZL1 Addons, 5mm. Everybody talks about the ZL1s being the best. They fit the best or whatever. So those are the ones I purchased. What I'd like to review with you is the installation of 5mm spacers all the way around my car, and the process it took, and the things you should consider. So first we'll start with the unboxing. So being one-handed while recording, I didn't see any value in you seeing me rip off the plastic wrapper. So this is the box. These are the units that came in. And if you're like me, this is one of them. What does 5mm really mean in a standard world? I do not know. I did a conversion online that said 5mm equal 3/16 of an inch. Well, let's find out. Here's what will come in the mail. 5mm is, in fact, camera on focus, 3/16 of an inch. According to this, 3/16 of an inch. So 5mm is 3/16 of an inch. So when you add a 3/16 or 5mm spacer onto your car, the next thing you need to consider, and it's been covered on many YouTube videos, is how much stud length will be taken away from your car. So when you slip this over the hub, then you slip your wheel on it, you now have 3/16 less of an inch of lug bite onto the stud. That's a big concern. So what I'm going to show you next is, after I take off the wheel, I'll show you what this looks like before and after on the car. Thanks. So before we begin work, I'll give you a cold start. Of you concerned about lug or stud length, here's what it is for a standard Camaro with the standard setup. You can see you have this amount of thread length from here to here. This is not thread length, this is just a buffer, something to help guide the wheel onto the stud. This is the thread length. So when we put the spacer on, it's going to attach back here and it's going to push the wheel out 3/16 of an inch, which I estimate is probably about 3 turns. So currently I have 9.5 turns from the very initial engagement. My apologies, getting sick here. From the initial engagement all the way to tightening it fully at about 120 pounds is 9.5 turns. I will let you know what the turns are and we'll walk through that together. When the spacer comes on and I tighten this back up, we will go through the whole process. So let me get the spacer onto the wheel. So here's the spacer on the wheel. Nice and flush. There is still plenty of bite onto the hub for the centric part of this process, meaning the wheel is going to still center itself onto the wheel like it did before, while still giving enough room for the lug nuts. So let's put the wheel on and we'll count the turns. So the wheel is on. Now let's get it on to where the lug will bite. And the lug is biting. So we'll count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, almost 5.5, and it's now on the wheel. 5.5, and it's biting. So I'm going to put the rest of them on and then we'll torque them down. So 5.5 good turns, whereas before I had 9.5 total. So we're at 5.5. Hopefully we'll be able to get 6 good turns so we can complete another half turn. We want this side here to end up over here. All right, let me put the rest of the lug nuts on and then we'll tighten them up. So here we are. Remember, we left this lug right here. We're trying to get from here to here. That'll give us 6 complete turns. So if you remember, we're right here now. Basically, as this lines up with that. So we're straight up. We're at 5 3/4 complete turn. I'll probably see if I can't give it a little bit more mustard here. I think anything further than that is too tight. So we got 5 3/4 complete turn out of this thing. So here it is with the 5mm spacers on all 4 corners. And you may think, I can't tell anything's changed. Well, the fact that you can't tell doesn't mean it's not there. The wheels are 5mm further out than they were before. And the way you verify that is there's the spacer that wasn't there before. So can tell more in the back than I can the front, but it's all I wanted. It already looked good the way that it was. Now it just looks a little bit better. Quite happy. This thing's gonna look good riding down the road. Spacer. Anyway, this was this project. If you like the video, like the video. Thanks, see ya.